can someone feel like we didn't then?
Triage is another murdered movie, much like The War at Home was. Triage is a film that had a paltry distribution, if any distribution, and can now only hope to gain attention with a DVD release. But, since not every movie is The Boondock Saints, I'm very doubtful of a massive DVD success for this film. Even though it features 3 Oscar-worthy performances, surrounded by decent ones, in a story that captured a dark existence that is the life of a war journalist. Colin Farrell plays Mark Walsh, who with his friend David is a photographer that goes into war zones and takes pictures that inspire horror, interest, disgust, whatever you want. In the film's time, 1988, the two men go to Kurdistan, a land well known for its war zones. Turkey, Iran, and Iraq have all fought with them in the past, and life hasn't changed at this point. There are still people getting wounded and people dying. The two photographers find a place to stay in a series of medical caves, where a doctor has set up a temporary hospital. He treats those he can, and shoots those he cannot. Horrifying? Yes. But in the doctor's words, he's sparing these men a few more days of pain. The two photographers clash eventually. Mark is gung-ho about staying as long as there's a story to photograph, but David's wife is in the last stages of pregnancy, and he's overwhelmed by the experience of the war zone. It's getting to him. He wants to go back. He and Mark argue about it as the offensive is launched by the Kurds. And then, just as it seems they're about to split up, the story jumps forward in time somewhat, to where Mark is gravely injured, a patient of the doctor. Mark survives his wounds and goes home to Dublin. His wife, Elena, is overjoyed, but there hangs a mystery about it all. Did he really get his injuries from falling into a river with sharp rocks? Where's David? What happened to him? He should have been back days ago, Mark observes to Elena, and David's wife is meanwhile about to have the baby. Mark's erratic behavior and his skeletal appearance isn't helping matters. He's changed, as his friends and wife can see. Finally, it leads to Elena contacting her grandfather, a psychologist and doctor, to examine Mark and help him recover from his trauma and stress. Thus begins the best part of the film. Joaquin and Mark share the best dialogue, the most interesting part of the story, and the fact that Christopher Lee and Colin Farrell play these roles only makes it better. Lee in particular was mesmerizing. At 86, learning such flowing dialogue, and in a Spanish accent to boot, he gives the character of Joaquin the kind of charisma that is obtained through age and experience. He's firm, but patient, letting his questions slide through the doorway rather than breaking down the door, if that metaphor makes any sense. Colin Farrell plays Mark with conviction and also with dedication. If IMDb is to be believed, he lost 44 pounds to play the role. Considering the performances he's been giving as of late, I think it's only a matter of time before the Academy Awards finally gives him a nomination. The third brilliant performance I spoke of is that of Branko Juric, playing the doctor. The gravelly voice sounds at times like he's going to keel over from exhaustion. The doctor gets some good monologues in the film, particularly one chilling observation he makes about human legs in time of war. Juric plays this man with a realistic feel. People like this exist, and they have to make that judgment call. But Juric also makes this man likable. Hard to do, considering one of the first scenes he has is facing a row of men that he's deemed too wounded to live. All of these men, the doctor, the psychologist, the war photographers, and the soldiers, all of them have done or seen terrible things, and have needed to learn how to live with those experiences. Mark is just one of those men learning that lesson on how to live with what's happened. As Mark states in one of his sessions with Joaquin, a photographer can often get killed in a war zone because looking through the lens of a camera often distorts reality. It underlies the fact that although Mark has been to such terrifying places as Beirut or Uganda, Kurdistan is where the straw broke the camel's back. And in the ending, we find out why. Unfortunately, the ending is the one big problem I have with this film. The payoff scene. The moment after the final secrets have been revealed. In The War at Home, the payoff is given, followed by a reaction of those listening. The reaction is part of what makes the ending to The War at Home so powerful. The ending to Triage, however, ends about 10 minutes shorter than I was hoping. The payoff is given with almost no time for reactions. And the reaction given by the one character that has time for a reaction is out of place and a bit inappropriate for the confession given. Not that it's the actor's faults, of course. Farrell handled the scene very well, as did Paz Vega playing his wife and Christopher Lee, but the script ended so abruptly that I literally said out loud, "I hope they don't end it here." Well, my hopes were dashed. But aside from that bungled last minute of the film, the 96 minutes before that were well handled. In a way, it's a lot like Salvador, considering the war zone and the issue of photographing the horror while trying to emerge unscathed from its effects. Kinda sad that it'll disappear into that realm of forgotten films that are remembered only by a few people.